Welcome to the Superhuman Ascension Podcast. My name is Caulen Lauria. I'm your host, and here we discuss neuroscience, biohacking, consciousness, and a lot more. And we share experiences with incredible individuals who are and have become superhuman and their journey throughout that. And we're hosting this in Austin, Texas, at the Ascension Brain headquarters and Cryo Bodyworks headquarters. Cryo Bodyworks is a supercharged wellness facility where we treat general wellness, acute and serious conditions, pain management, immune health, COVID recovery, and much more. And Ascension Brain is our brain supplement nootropic company that is designed to improve cognition for memory, focus, mood, memory, focus, mood, energy, sleep, and gut health. Today, we are here with a superhuman himself, Mr. Shea Boland, an influencer, a recovery specialist, a men's coaching and transformational wisdom giver, and a community builder in Austin, and a good friend of mine, and I'm excited to share this conversation with everybody. We've got a lot of things to cover, but we're only going to cover a little bit in this first episode, and we'll bring him back for more. And excited to have you on. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Very grateful for our friendship, and yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's really important to give people an idea of a little bit of your background, because you have a lot of experience with recovery, and you specifically, I identify as someone who's been able to be extremely successful in their recovery, and in a way that you bring a lot of calm energy to everybody and those around you. And that's a rare gift that you're able to provide that for people. So
yeah, thank you. You know, my story can be really divided up into two halves. The first half was trying it my way. My finite way, my very, what I thought was the way. And what this resulted in is very unskillful coping strategies with life. I had a jaded view of the world. I did not take care of my body. I was riddled with resentments and fear, and just was under this impression that if only the world would kind of behave the way I wanted it to behave, I would be happier, I would be okay. And so through that, I just gave away a lot of my power without even knowing it. And this resulted in heroin addiction, lots of drugs and alcohol, and just anything to take away this discomfort that I felt in my body. and so that leads to more of a soulful journey of figuring out what didn't work and how detached I was from myself and my own heart. And in 2012, I hit rock bottom with that old way of showing up in the world. And what a gift, you know. Thankfully, it didn't take my life. I got put into a crossroads. It was either I was going to continue on that path, which could result in jail, death, or some sort of institution, or I was going to go the other way and accept spiritual help and step into more of a flow in my life. And that was 8 years ago, and I've done just that. And I love that you use this word superhuman, because I am, it's as if through the years have just kind of shed these layers to get more and more integrated and congruent with who I really am, who we really are. Because we truly are superhuman. We are cut from the same cloth of this divine force. We are not separate from it. And so these past 8 years has been quite a transformational journey. So I have devoted my life to serving others, helping people wake up, realize their potential, realize who they really are. And if I had to really sum up what it all comes down to, is the power of love for ourselves, love for the world. And I'm sure we'll get into more of the energetic side of things, that love is a frequency. And when you are tapped into it, there's more of a harmonious energy, a frequency that comes with it, and it will transform your life.
Yeah, you are superhuman. And I love what you're talking about, which is that congruence to the frequency that you are projecting yourself towards. And the consciousness that we are all a part of, we absolutely are not separate from that. We conceptualize our individual bodies, our individual minds and personalities as just by themselves, but we are absolutely connected as one consciousness. It's kind of a wild thing to realize, where I'm having a conversation with myself in the same idea that it is one consciousness, but we're individual droplets from this ocean, and finding the most powerful way to tune into what that individual droplet is meant to do in this plane, and tuning into the heart, into that soulful connection, is what drives it. And you've done it extremely well. It's absolutely inspiring, and the ATX Sprint Squad that you founded is such an inspiring way for people to connect and really tap into something a little bit deeper. We're able to do things where we're exerting ourselves physically, but we're living in this day and age where people want a little bit more. So the substance of the community gatherings that you do, not just ATX Sprint Squad, but the men's group that you just launched, is so powerful. There's something about you which is just heartwarming, which is your ability to create a space that invites people from all walks of life to be in a more vulnerable state. And I think that's what's so powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing that and being a part of this journey and making your presence that much more special with these communities that I've been a part of. And I've been loving this word portal lately, because that's what I've become so passionate about, is creating little portals for people to just get a little taste of something with a little bit more depth, to get a little bit more of in touch with the oneness that connects us all. So, for example, you take something like sprinting and you make it so it has like an accessibility to it, to where anyone can show up, and they leave feeling like, wait a second, I feel a lot more connected to my fellow humans, and that you can't put a price on that. I mean, I would argue that feeling when someone walks away from some event where they feel a part of the group would just, in terms of effectiveness, blow past any sort of antidepressant, or and that's just what I've become so passionate about, is creating those portals, those opportunities to get a bit more depth, and to just to wake up and heal a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of just relying on antidepressants and other things to try and dig themselves out of a hole, I think there's a really poignant thing that you're helping illuminate for people, which is the power of community. Absolutely. I mean, this is, there's a saying when raising children, it takes a tribe, right? It takes a village. Well, it still takes a village once you're grown up. And there's something deeply healing about that, which new ideas coming in and pushing each other to grow, listening, being there for each other. One of the things that we do here at Cryo Bodyworks is we do ice baths. We do challenging, fearful things. But on the other side of fear is our greatest life force. And people who hear the idea of like an ice bath, they run the other direction. But if you just come and watch it, you might actually be inspired to do it, just because of the energy that you're witnessing people unlock within themselves. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And the whole community that you've really helped cultivate is this superhuman community. People are living in the post-COVID world where we can't do things the same way we did them before. They get us into trouble, and we have to evolve. And that's where your superhuman journey has been just fantastic to witness and to ride with you. And with being a superhuman, there's this mentality shift that starts from one thing and leads to the next. And one thing that is great to see, which is trying new things. trying new things by way of whatever it is, whether it's ice bath or whether it's some form of biohacking, whether it's raising your vibration through meditation, or one thing that I know that you've been doing lately, which is experimenting with your nutrition. Shea and I have had lots of conversations about the path of veganism. And right now we're really in an interesting time where I think there needs to be a more comfortable conversation around the meat eaters and the vegans. And this weekend I did a lot of meditation around this to really identify where this middle ground is. And if you look at life from a universal perspective, there is no right or wrong, it's choices. The choices just lead to different outcomes. And in the space of being a vegan that I have for the last 5 years, personally, I make the choice that this is the right path for me because I feel like it's a compassionate path, and I'm getting all of the nourishment that I need, and I feel like it's sustaining my livelihood beyond that of my ancestors. So it's trying something new. But I took a moment this weekend to really dive into some meditation about what this is, and where it is for me is it's a choice to be more mindful. And you can be more mindful on a diet incorporating meat. But what my perspective is that if you're going to make the choice to continue to consume an animal, there would be some benefit in using that energy to the most powerful way possible for you. If you're going to take the life of another animal, if you're going to create a conflict where this animal wants to live but you're going to use that energy, then I think it begs the opportunity to really convert that energy into something so beautiful that it's worth it for you to consume that energy. And I feel like there are people that are really good at doing that in making the choice to have that type of diet, but who are really using that energy to its fullest potential. Because I feel like people who are not using that energy for what it's worth get left over with the vibration that they're taking on, and the vibration that they're taking on is going to be including some form of fear that animal may have had at its death. It may be incorporating torture or whatever it is. There could be some vibrations existing that you're consuming, and if you're not processing that carefully and mindfully, then you could be ending up with anxiety that you're not sure of where that's coming from. And I feel that people like yourself who are clearly balanced and are finding ways to tap into meditation and exercising their body and using their energy for really, really good, loving purposes are expelling that energy in a really good, coherent way. So that's what I discovered this weekend.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a huge shift. And, I want to offer just somewhat of a different perspective, but it kind of correlates. I would argue that our human journeys are about being on a path of raising our awareness, shifting our consciousness, waking up, and taking a good hard look in the mirror and being really honest with myself. Is what I'm up to in my life, is it serving me? Is it serving the greater good of the world? How do I feel in this moment? Having the courage to call myself out for certain things, certain behaviors, certain actions, all with the intention to just keep waking up and growing and being a producer of harmony in the world rather than a producer of confusion and pain, right? And so I don't find myself to be very skillful at talking about diet as a concept, but you did bring up this idea of a universal sort of a human's universal truth. And so I've found that with my own sovereignty as a human being, as of now, I have made a decision to consume animal products that I feel right with. I feel in alignment. And I love the way you spoke to it so beautifully, is that I'm using this energy for the forces of good. And this may change in a year. I may look in the mirror and say, you know what, something is just really not starting to feel right with consuming animals anymore. And I would be prepared to make those changes. But all those hours on the meditation cushion and sitting with myself and just getting really honest with myself about what my choices are doing to myself and the world around me, I feel, in alignment. And, I'm just such an advocate for, supporting someone else's path. And it's like, and I love the way you said that, is like, there's a deeper level of compassion for people that are not choosing the path that you're choosing. So it's like this dance between being an advocate for something we believe in, but also understanding that each human has their own karmic journey, their own sovereignty to make their own mistakes, and if we try to meddle in that a bit too much, I mean, we're attempting to play God in a sense, right? See, that's the big point that I'm trying to convey here is about it's each human's responsibility to take a good hard look in the mirror and call themselves out on how they're showing up in the world, and I would argue that the world will be a much better place and will continue to be a much better place when we can get more humans on board with that.
Yeah, it's awesome when people are willing to be a little bit vulnerable and take a good hard look in the mirror and maybe sit with contrast with being in a space where you're offering love and not pushing someone to do something, but offering contrasting views and just sitting in that space. I think that's really great. Some people they'll run from that type of just being in that space makes them uncomfortable. But I really can appreciate that so many people right now in time are really being self-reflective to become more awake. And I just really love that process. So thanks for helping do that for me, because you've definitely impacted me in doing that. It's also really difficult to see the things that you may want to change, but are just not aware of it yet. And so anything that we can do to raise our mindfulness, our consciousness, and constantly doing a self check-in on our shadow work, and looking at those different areas of showing up better for myself so that I can show up better for those around me. It's a challenging thing, and I think that leads to the mental health conversation that we can have, which is a lot of the people that you see who have gone through addiction and stuff, and even those who aren't in addiction can have a certain level of delusion. And I always check in with myself as my own mental health practice to really identify what is a delusional thought and what is not, and what is keeping me grounded, what's real, and that process I'm kind of curious to see for you what that's like. The word that comes to mind, which is such it's one of those words that has just so much depth and weight to it that you can spend a lifetime getting to know the meaning of this word, and discernment, spiritual discernment, like having this ability to, first to have a clear enough mind, a calm enough mind to imagine your mind as almost like a game board, and there's various pieces, and how to shift around these pieces, see which ones have some validity to them, which ones are trauma from when I was 10 years old. Is there a vibration here that feels very fear, very primitive, very almost like rooted in survival? Oh, this one feels, man, that's some joy right there. That feels like truth. And how to just sift through the psyche in a way where you can, as if your mind is kind of malleable and you're able to shift things around
And through this process, you learn how to discern what's true for yourself. And this is directly correlated with the power of intuition. That is the nature of my work, is getting other humans in touch with the validity and the necessity of their intuition. It is the guiding force of everything. It is our birthright. It is the sixth sense, and we see the pain that is caused in the world when people are so detached from their own inner knowing, and so to see the transformative nature of what can happen when someone just gets more and more in touch with it, and then we get into this topic of trust. How to have trust with yourself. It's a process of having a much more intimate relationship with oneself, and it's scary because it takes some, as you mentioned, shadow work to get there. You've got to go through some level of muck and some fears and just some old ways of showing up in the world, some old conditioning, but when you start going down that path and you start seeing the light being shown a little bit, it's like there is no turning back, and it's just so beautiful to witness in the lives of my client, my own life, and my peers around me, yourself included, when we start to keep trusting ourselves and learn to harness the power of our intuition. And so I'm kind of all over the place, but it all goes back to just trust with oneself, the power of the intuition, and having an ability to discern what's bullshit, what's just noise in our heads, and what's also societal programming. I mean, that's another thing that we've just got to continue to learn how to filter out, all this fear-mongering propaganda, because what comes first, this has been a game changer for me, is I used to live my life where what the primary almost input was other people, society, books, podcasts, lectures, and then what was secondary was my own inner knowing and intuition, right? Over the past 2 years, I'd say this is just radically flip-flopped, and it's scary, it's daunting. It's like, wait, can I trust this? And it's changed my life dramatically. So your opinion, your beliefs, that expert that has all the degrees, that shit comes secondary. Sorry, buddy.
There's this growing level of intuition that people are able to tap into, and that gut feeling, that gut response, when you're faced with a question or you ask a question, your mind is presented with the answer immediately, and a lot of times we just totally ignore that, or we don't like to trust that. We're like, no, that's probably a delusional thought, but well, wait a minute, that was my gut talking, that was immediate, and it's good to be discerning, but sometimes, as my friend Roland says, first idea, best idea. But it takes a little bit of getting used to trust yourself in that, do I want to spend some time with these people? No. Or yes, whatever it is, maybe just going with it. Having a little bit of experimentation with listening to that intuition a little bit more and seeing if that's leading you to the highest vibration that you're seeking.
Exactly. So, and I want to bring up another way to look at this is, it's as if this idea of like the micro of a human's experience is not given enough power to, because we're so focused on more of the macro of our lives, our futures, and it comes at a cost. So let's get really, really micro with it. We're bringing it back down to an individual breath. Okay, so to be very present with each other, or present with one's own self, and that's what I teach, is how to use various modalities such as breathwork, meditation, to get very, very micro. So right now, just to give you an example, so when I draw my breath in, I notice a softening, and I notice a clenching of my stomach, because it's nerve-wracking to be on camera just a little bit. But then with exhale, I'm able to, as you're speaking, to soften a little bit. So I am able to catch myself in this moment of stories of perfectionism, image, and all this bullshit, And then I use my breath to bring me back down to a softening and just reorienting myself into the present moment. And that's where the work is. That's where the work lies. That is the spiritual path, is to get more and more grounded in this moment and using our breath as our lifeline to do so. You know, it is the guiding force. Because let me paint a quick picture of the opposite of this to add some contrast.
Yeah.
Right? It's someone who's very reactionary. They are not in touch with their body. They're not in touch with their emotions, and they're playing defense with life. Basically, life is kind of working against them, and they're just bouncing around like a chicken with their head cut off. And I have compassion for these people because I used to, be that way. But that's just it's a very challenging way to live, And so, being superhuman and being on this path of using these various healing modalities, what they are helping facilitate is to get more and more in touch with the micro, aka the present moment of life, where life is happening. That's where we are wired for this. We are present beings, and it can cause a lot of pain when we get too detached from the present.
Oh, pain and damage. Being superhuman to me in one area, of course, is exactly what you're talking about, which is being present, being in the now, and not future tripping or past tripping. And that is, it has been, as advanced as I've been able to be, relatively, that is still something I have not mastered at all. But I'm starting to get better at that. And being present leads me to where I want to go, which is creating really fantastic synchronicities. And there are no coincidences. It's really about if you're just being present enough to be able to tap into all the energies around you. And I just love it when I'm really in that space of being present, and the people that I need to see just show up and are just right around me. And I end up being at the places at the exact timing that I needed or didn't even realize I needed to experience. And that led to something even more beautiful. That synchronicity bliss is just what I crave. And being in the present, the now, is all about that. And to follow up on what you were saying is, how is it connected to the breath? And, like you're saying, if you really just pay attention to the micro, and in that breath, as you're inhaling, your breath is just an extension of the nervous system. And so if there's a hiccup in the breath, maybe taking a little bit more mindfulness, right, into, oh, there was a hiccup. Well, then I can follow that path back into my nervous system. And now I can feel where maybe an emotion was of being nervous on camera or whatever it is. And paying attention to those little things makes a huge difference. So thank you so much for being here. I think we're probably out of time, but I can't wait to have you back on, and we'll discover some more areas of becoming superhuman.
Yes, that sounds great. We've just touched the surface, so we will be back for sure. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Love you, buddy.
Woo, love you too, man. Yeah, that was great.